Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington is considered one of the top quarterback prospects in the 2024 NFL Draft, but his draft stock has been falling as of late. So today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be going over his full scouting report, the pros, the cons, his pro comps, and make sure you guys stick around because I'm going to tell you the reason why Michael Penix Jr. might fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers all the way back in the second round. But before I get into Penix's profile today, let me know down there in the comment section, should the Steelers take a quarterback within the first 3 rounds? Give me a yes or give me a no to kick off today's show. And with that, let's start with Michael Penix's profile here, where he's 23 years old. He's going to be 24 by the start of this season. He's 6'3", 214 pounds, so he brings some good size to the table here. His Pro Football Focus grade last year, a 91.1. That is an elite grade, and it ranked 11th out of 307 college quarterbacks last year in the NCAA. And then you look at the big board ranking right now, he's projected to be a second-round pick by Pro Football Focus, 47th overall, and he's the number 6 quarterback. He's behind guys like J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix. All right, so that's how Pro Football Focus views Michael Penix Jr., even after having just an unbelievable season with the Huskies there in Washington, 65.4% completion percentage, almost 5,000 yards passing, 36 touchdowns to just 11 interceptions, and a really good quarterback rating to boot. So why is his draft stock falling? Well, I'll get into his cons and why he might be falling here in just a second. But before we get into that, you tell me down there in the comments section. Again, more likely for Michael Penix Jr. Do you think he's going to be more likely a boom prospect in the National Football League, or do you think he's going to bust? Let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know if you think Penix is going to boom or bust. So let's start with the pros of Michael Penix Jr.'s game based on what I've seen on his film over the past year. And size is not going to be an issue, guys. 6'3", 214. He's going to be able to survive in the National Football League. He's going to be able to see over the middle of the field. No issues there. Then we get to the arm strength. And this is really where we start getting into the special territory and the things that he really does at a really high level. Super strong arm, and then he also pairs a really great arm strength, and he can throw it 60, 70 yards down the field with a very quick release, which allows him to stay in the pocket for as long as possible. And, you'll see many times on his film, there's a defender bearing down on him, and he'll wait to the very last second and then just throws it right at the last second, flick of the wrist, super quick release. And that's definitely something that NFL teams look for in their quarterbacks so they can get rid of it, and it buys them more time in the pocket. And then you add that with the arm strength, man, that's just absolutely unbelievable. But, it's not just enough to have a strong arm. You have to be accurate with it, and that's what Michael Penix Jr. does better than just about anyone else in this year's draft class. I mean, I love Drake May, and I love Caleb Williams' deep balls, but this guy gives them a run for their money in terms of deep ball accuracy. It's always put on a dime. He always puts it with perfect trajectory. It's just really a marvel to see. And if he's going to be a successful quarterback in the National Football League, it's going to be winning from the pocket and throwing the ball down the field. That's what Michael Penix Jr. does better than arguably anybody else in this year's draft class. And then not only that, guys, he's a good mental processor. You see many times on his film where he's going from 1 to 2 to 3, whereas somebody like J.J. McCarthy, there's a lot of one-read quarterbacking on his film. So I look at Michael Penix Jr., and I see somebody that has already an NFL-caliber mental processor, somebody that already has an NFL-ready arm, and then he can throw the deep ball with accuracy. This is what teams in the National Football League look for in their quarterbacks, and I really think he's a great fit for like a West Coast system like Arthur Smith's here in Pittsburgh. I also think Minnesota, Atlanta, a bunch of these other teams that run West Coast systems are going to be big fans of Michael Penix Jr. this year because of that ability to process information and deliver the ball down the field with accuracy. Now, still to come here on Steelers Talk, the cons with Michael Penix and why he is falling down draft boards right now. But before I get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for first deposit match up to $100 today. Football season is officially over, folks, but the fun on Prize Picks never stops as you can enhance your viewing experience for things like March Madness, NBA basketball, MLB baseball when it starts getting going again, and even NASCAR with our friends at Prize Picks, which is a skill-based, real money, daily fantasy sports game. And if you're wondering how it works, Here's how you play. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their prize picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So this is my entry for tonight's game between for Trae Young and Jaylen Brown. I'm going to take the less on Trae Young. I'm going to take the more on Jaylen Brown. So you guys can get your projections in for tonight right now by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. So let's start with the cons here with Michael Penix Jr. with the injury concerns. And this is definitely going to be the thing that either makes him a top 15 pick, in my opinion, in this year's draft, or it's going to make him a second-round pick because he's had a lot of injuries to that knee. You remember back in his days with Indiana, he was a mobile quarterback. He could run that thing, but after a bunch of leg injuries throughout his time in college, he's been reduced to a pure pocket passer, and to his credit, he developed in that way with the Huskies there in Washington. But these injury concerns here, if he goes into the combine this weekend here and in those medical checks and his knee does not check out, there are a lot of teams that will just straight up take him off of their draft boards. So that's a reason why he might fall. Also, inconsistent pocket presence. Now, in the Texas game, he had some really great flashes of moving up in the pocket, feeling pressure, and then delivering a strike down the field. But you don't see that consistently on his film, all right? He likes to take his drop, and then he likes to throw it, whether that be to a check down or to his first read. You don't really see a whole lot of moving up in the pocket, pocket manipulation, stuff that you saw Tom Brady do for many, many years, things you see Patrick Mahomes do at an elite level right now. That's not something that Michael Penix does well, and that's definitely a trait that most star quarterbacks in the National Football League possess. Number 3, we talked about it with the injury concerns a little bit, but if you've had that many knee injuries, your mobility is going to be limited, and he's not going to provide much for you in terms of running the football, all right? So you don't have to put a spy on him. You don't even really have to have anyone really worry about him because he's not going to be that explosive. He's not going to be that dynamic. He's not going to be able to cut and make guys miss. Maybe he's not the slowest quarterback in the league once he's drafted, but, he's definitely not going to be running around like Lamar Jackson, let's put it that way. Another con for his game is playmaking, all right? So not only is he not able to move, but you're not going to get much in terms of off-structure playmaking, like getting outside the pocket and throwing dimes like when he's on the run. You're not going to see like an Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes style of thrower here in Michael Penix Jr. He's a lot more within structure, deep ball throwing, in structure, all these different things. He's not really an out-of-structure playmaker, so if your offense needs one of those kinds of guys, Michael Penix Jr. is not going to be your quarterback. And then the final thing here, and this is a very minor one, it's just the mechanics are not super clean with Michael Penix Jr. Now, he's accurate with the football. So, we all know how Phillip Rivers threw the football, man. That was the ugliest throwing motion you have ever seen in your life, but he was accurate with it, and he was effective as a quarterback in this league. So that's a slight tick on his resume, in my opinion, is that he doesn't have the best, most clean throwing mechanics out there, but certainly good enough to give him that deep ball that he has right now. So I guess whatever works for him. Now, let's get to the pro comps here. And let's start with the high-end comp. I think he could be as good as Kirk Cousins someday. Now, Kirk Cousins is not a superstar-level quarterback, right? He's borderline top 10, and that's where I think Michael Penix Jr. could fit in because he's got that strong arm. Like Kirk Cousins, he's got a great deep ball that he throws with absolute precision. All right, he's also somebody that's not going to be very mobile. He's not going to provide much for you in terms of playmaking. So for me, I think at the high end, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be Kirk Cousins. Then in the low end, I would say he's somewhere around the lines of Jacoby Brissett, maybe even a little bit worse than that because it's just he's got the strong arm and all these different things, but he doesn't have that dynamic quality to his game. And then when you take into account the injury concerns, is he going to be able to stay on the field? Is a team really going to want to spend a first-round draft pick on somebody with that much of an injury risk? So for me personally, guys, with the right fit, like I was saying, like with a West Coast offense, like Atlanta or Minnesota or Pittsburgh, for example, I do think that with the right fit, he is worth a first-round pick. I really do think that he is capable of playing in a Shanahan or McVay-style offense and execute that to maybe not to perfection, but definitely to an NFL quality as a starter. He can throw the ball down the field. He can make all the throws that you want, but he's not going to provide that dynamic playmaking element, and he also has those injury concerns that could derail his career. Now, the big question that you're probably watching this show for is, Should the Pittsburgh Steelers take him at some point during the 2024 NFL Draft? Now, if you guys have watched the show, you guys probably have a pretty good feeling of where I'm at with how I feel about taking a quarterback early this year. I think if you're keeping Kenny Pickett, you're probably starting him, so why take a quarterback in round one? And then if you're getting a different veteran, that guy's going to start, so why draft a quarterback in round one? I don't really see a scenario where the Pittsburgh Steelers take that lone first-round pick that they have at number 20 and take a quarterback, even for somebody that does fit this system, like Michael Penix Jr. I just really don't see that happening. And really, when I look at the situation right now, the reality of the situation is that young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, quarterbacks in their first year in the playoffs, they don't win Super Bowls, all right? And playoff experience really does matter. And because the Pittsburgh Steelers are in this mode where their defense is really good now, they have really good weapons on offense now. They're bringing in Arthur Smith now. They got T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick. They're ready to win now. So I'm not willing to go out and draft another young quarterback that's probably not going to have success in the playoffs. If I'm the Steelers, I am honing in on a veteran free agent or via trade to try to make this team give this team the best possible chance to win the Super Bowl in 2024. However, if the Steelers can take care of the other needs that they have on their roster right now in free agency, I could potentially see them making a move to maybe take a quarterback early on in the 2024 NFL Draft. And what positions need to be filled? You need another starting outside corner. You need a new left tackle or right tackle, depending on how you feel about Broderick Jones. You need a new center, and you need a safety. All right, whether that be Patrick Peterson or somebody else, you need to figure out that second safety position this offseason. These positions absolutely must be filled. All right, if you haven't addressed one of these yet, do not take a quarterback. Period. All right, so that is my philosophy. But if they take care of all this, let's say they get Kenny Moore, Trent Brown, Aaron Brewer, and they keep Patrick Peterson. All right, they've got all those positions figured out. What if they try to trade back into round one for Michael Penix Jr.? Maybe they take another corner at number 20, and then they trade up to number 32, where they get another year of contract control on Penix's contract. He's a good fit for the offense. And really, if you have like a guy like Russell Wilson, for example, on the vet minimum, you could bring him in as the short-term solution, and then Michael Penix Jr. at number 32, you can bring him in. You got an extra year of contract control. He could take over for Russell Wilson once he's eventually done here in Pittsburgh. So that's probably what I would do if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think what it would cost is probably a second-rounder and one of your fourth-rounders this year to move up. Now, who knows if the Chiefs really want to trade that pick? Maybe they want to take a receiver, another weapon for Mahomes. Who knows, right? But if they want to trade out of there, I could see the Steelers potentially getting Michael Penix Jr. there at number 32, especially if they've already figured out the other needs on their roster this offseason. Now, let me know down there in the comment section. UBGM Omar Khan, would you accept this trade from the Kansas City Chiefs? Type A for accept or type D for decline. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button for more in-depth scouting reports on all the top Steelers draft targets throughout the 2024 offseason.